You're watching the Whole My Brunch podcast, hosted all the way from Sri Lanka. I am Shavi, and I love talking about many things, starting from the life hustle to the biggest insecurities that all of us have. Do you need that Sunday morning coffee or tea with a strong brew? Then this is the right place for you. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hold My Brunch. Today/tonight we'll be talking about medicine, especially what we know, what we do not know, and what we would like to know. Currently, the world is facing a pandemic, which is the COVID-19. As of June 27, 2020, there are 9.67 million recorded and confirmed cases and 493,000 related deaths. So, as the previous epidemic waves of SARS, MERS, Ebola, Zika virus, H1N1 came in, during the inception stages of COVID-19, people were wondering with their two thumbs up for a recovery, possibly a vaccine or any medication coming from any form. The need for this recovery intensified when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a pandemic. Questions and concerns like, for how long COVID will be hanging around us? Why can't we reach post-pandemic level pretty soon, huh? Is it something avoidable? Are masks essential right now? And so on. On top of that, we have a plethora of other diseases and disorders which are essentially resulted due to the patterns of our gender combinations or due to the monotony of our lifestyles. Starting from arthritis to asthma to hypertension to diabetes to cancers to many other ailments out there, people are still interjecting and brainstorming on a possible relief. Out of nowhere, a member of our kin or our friends acquires such a disease. Due to the massive doses of medication or chemotherapy, we would potentially observe their physical, social, and mental permutations, which are quite drastic. And unfortunately, even death would arrive to the patient, depending on the stage of the disease. Simply cut to the chase. When will we ever find a medicinal drug or a vaccine to cure such diseases? That's the most sought after concern for all of us. The word medicine has become a hot keyword in mass media, internet-based social media, coffee shop conversations, and in the most unthinkable spaces ever. Before starting off, here is a disclaimer notice. I am not a medical professional. My opinions in this podcast episode are mainly based on my thinking as a graduate in biological sciences, especially on what I learned and researched. Generally, according to the normal person realization levels, we all know medicine cures diseases. Medicine can come in all forms and matter. Remember that one time you were sneezing pretty badly, your mom probably suggested you to drink a hot beverage, most probably a glass of hot water. As adults, we are always equipped with medications such as Panadol, Tylenol, ibuprofen, just to make sure we are all good to go. In fact, maintaining a good health is what we aim for. Whenever we feel sick or get sick, we have the urge for a quick therapy so that we could come back cruising on our usual marathon. In order to relieve, recover, rejuvenate, refresh ourselves through one or several medications, we would always go consult a doctor. In the modern world, we tend to hold up the stigma towards indigenous medicine. Instead, we would be more comfortable with the process involved in Western medicine. This definitely has a core reason, which is the here and there springing appearances of fake physicians from time to time, treating someone's mortal disease as a piece of cake. However, as the saying goes, everything is just like a coin with two sides. Someone got an exam the other day, and here comes a broken thumb. Because this entire world, at least most part of this world, runs on exams, and instant relief is necessary. So your usual white coat medical doctor gives you a painkiller, which would then later provide insane episodes of chronic gastritis for years. What I just said is an anecdote from a good friend of mine. Guess what? I do have a good mini tale to roll out. Since I was a 1-year-old toddler, I was suffering from chronic asthma. Let me tell you how bad it was. My cough was vibrating myself to the point of having an asthma attack and then rushing to the ER for continuous overnight nebulization. Then I came across yoga during middle school, and thanks goodness for a year-long practice, I recovered from those terrible and heavy breathing episodes for life. Yes, trust me, it was for the entire life. I still haven't got an asthma attack since I was 14. Yeah, I'm not kidding. So either way, you may have experienced your own story with many medical genres, as I just mentioned. Let me also present you some staggering country-based statistics in related to our day-to-day medicinal situations. First, we are going for an American statistic. According to the National Ambulatory Medical Care Survey of 2016, published by the National Center for Health Statistics, percent of persons using at least one prescription drug in the past 30 days for the years between 2013 and 2016 is 48.4%, which is nearly 50%. And then a Sri Lankan statistic. According to the Annual Health Statistics Report of 2017, published by the Ministry of Health in Sri Lanka, I found that there have been 55 million outpatient admissions and almost 7 million inpatient admissions only for the year 2017. Remember, the entire population of this little island is 22 million approximately. However, I wasn't able to find a medicinal drug related one from Sri Lanka, but it's kind of a very clinical based one. I think it kind of caters because when you go to a hospital, it doesn't really matter whether you're in or out, you're still given some sort of a medication. So I think that's pretty applicable. Accordingly, we are quite relying on medicine as humans, aren't we? What we truly do not know about medicine is how they actually act within our body, and on top of that, how such reactions will induce the patient's response towards some sort of stimulus. Synthesis of medicinal drugs requires thorough research. To aid our initial medicinal research, we need the help of our pioneering direct contact to patient line of our entire front line, which includes the medical doctors, the nurses, the caretakers, the nutritionists, and obviously, most importantly, the patients. After absorbing and studying a particular disease and its cause or pathogen, with the support of our primaries, the role turns out to the molecular biologist, geneticist, biochemist, and other related instrumental scientists. Developing a drug is quite a Herculean task because when a certain drug is given to the patient, many external and internal factors must be considered carefully and there would be many ethical complications out there if things go wrong. After many trial and error experimentation, the final form of the drug would be synthesized and will be transferred to a chain of well-planned clinical trials in order to establish the surety of using this medication in a clinical platform. Yes, such elongated processes are the reasons why it takes significant time for a drug to come into the public and for a widely recognized prescribed use. During the drug synthesis, scientists usually study on how a certain chemical component will act inside the most minuscule part of our body, which is the cell. A cell is usually defined as the basic functional and structural unit in any living organism. As an example, the scientists would be intrigued with bubbles and thoughts like this. So, how will the chemical component will reach inside the cell? Will it be able to go through this so-called transport channel to access this part of the cell? For the layman out there, transport channel acts like a gate to filter what we do want in versus what we don't want in. Will this chemical compound stimulate whatever the part of the organ that we must stimulate because of this entire cell stimulation? Will this compound able to fit in with other fellow chemical compounds in the cell or this tissue? Will this compound able to interact with our white blood cells to fight against the genetic structure of this fungi, the bacteria, or the virus? Is this compound soluble in blood and other bodily plus cellular fluids? Nevertheless, with the time being, a certain illness get cured from our body and we would be happy with the fact, oh yes, my disease is already gone. But guess what? Everything what happens inside our body and the medications we take will definitely leave footprints inside. This is why after taking a certain medication, our response to a certain external stimulus has the potential to change. These chemicals will alter our metabolism and other biological processes inside, bringing short or prolonged effects, depending on the nature and the duration of the medication. As an example, some people who take antidiuretics for their diabetes situation, they would feel a little bit lightheaded during their regular workout, responding to the sweating, which is not something they used to feel before, prior to diagnosis more specifically, and before getting prescribed to more and more medication. Then they would have to take more breaks or adjust their lifestyle catering to their current condition. Don't get me wrong, such inductions are not necessarily terrible or negative, but we must embrace such subtle or major changes as a result of using medications, which is totally alright. Life is never perfect all the time. What we would like to know about medicine is how personalized they are. Almost all of our lifetimes were dependent on many interactions of generalized medication. Imagine you're suffering from a commonplace toothache and you've been prescribed the same old painkiller followed with some other medications, aiding your instant recovery and relieving of your symptoms. Remember the story I said, that anecdote I said in regard to a friend who got a pain in the thumb, a broken thumb, and getting a lot of gastritis after that? Have you ever thought Is this prescription really tailored to you? I have thought about that in a lot of times. This is why sometimes the interplay between our genes and environment is doing an immense role. Instead of that extra medication to relieve another symptom of the disease, the medical doctor could have advised on providing some natural therapy. It could be any simple activity leading to relieving the mental stress and isolation. It could be any cultural adjustment which would involve one's diet, behavior, surrounding, and so on. Accordingly, psychoneuroimmune mechanisms could be reawakened in such collaborations. Psychoneuroimmune mechanisms essentially refer to the processes related to the interactions between psychological processes and the nervous plus immune systems of our body. Now, this is where Western medicine can greatly combine with indigenous medicine. In South Asia, Ayurveda is practiced. In North America, the indigenous medicine genre is carried out by the Native Americans. These methods have the inherent ways and means of living healthy and the necessary therapeutic attitude and developments. Plus, these can be combined with the synthetic therapy provided in the Western medicine. Through such personalization, the multiple side effects resulted due to the combinations of several drugs have a massive potential to be reduced. After all, it's all about embracing the natural you while getting the necessary synthetic medication to relieve symptoms. Epigenetics, which is simply put as the study of how changes occur inside us in addition to the alterations happening inside the genes. That basically means how our external environment and habits related to diet, culture has an influence on the changes happening in us, apart from the initial play of our own genes, which we inherit from our parents. Epigenetics is a great venue to propel the personalization factor in synthetic drug research. On top of that, I feel there is also another way we could improve the pathway towards personalized medicine. The support of psychologists, anthropologists, sociologists is quite vital to excavate the patient's external background, in addition to what's actually happening inside them and their pathology. This would filter more of the chemical noise of a possible personalized treatment or a therapy. So, can we lead a life without medicine? Well, we possibly cannot. However, incorporating our spontaneity with the synthetic approach that we usually take, it could always help us lead an active life in terms of the body, mind, and soul. That's one enriched episode on my opinion in regard to modern medicine and what we actually need to excavate out of it. Next week, we'll be talking about bullying prior to post-secondary education. I have quite a few stories and experiences to share. Please stay subscribed to Hold My Brunch on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more other platforms in my description box as seen on YouTube. And obviously, you could go all the way in the Anchor Podcast platform and check out other podcast links. Have a healthy and a prosperous week. Till then, goodbye.